Good morning and welcome to Kingdom Inspired Kids podcast, where parents talk, hosted by CTR Media Network. Guys, I'm your host and founder. I am Calvette Boyd, and I'm really excited to be here with you guys today. So today's topic, guys, is going to be like school is back in session. What's next? We all know that some of us might have had a challenging summer. Listen, our kids are back in school and the fun doesn't stop for us here. It just continues to go. So I want to share some things that a few tips to make sure that we are all on the right track. The first thing is, guys, make sure that you are plan for everything, plan for after school activities, make sure that you're planning for your meals, your snacks, you're planning for activities, your bedtime, your routine, your morning routine. You parents, we've got to have a routine because I can tell you these first few weeks of school, I think we started school mid-August, but these first few weeks of school have been a little challenging because we weren't on our routine necessarily the way we should have been in the summer. And so now getting back to school has been a little bit more challenging. It's not bad, but it has a little bit more challenging. My teen is a little older, and so I try to give a little bit of freedom when it comes to staying up a little later and those kind of things, because pretty soon my kid will be out in the real world where no one's saying, hey, it's time to get up, it's time to go, take your shower. You got to be in a routine. So those things need to be drilled into them as kids growing up and as teenagers. Now, if you have not been in that routine, remember, it takes about 21 days to make something a habit, to make it a routine. So what we want to do is want to go ahead and make sure that if you have not been doing that, you've started doing that. Another thing that got us kind of thrown off was the bus schedule. Listen, the bus comes. I'm not really a bus mom either. I pretty much take my kid to school and pick my kid back up. It's just something that I guess I just prefer to do it. I've done it for a long time. Every now and then, my kid will have to ride the bus if I'm working, or I have to go to work early, or I'm going to be a little later getting off or something like that. But the bus this year comes at like 5:50 a.m. and school doesn't start until 8 o'clock. So I'm like, yeah, no, we are not doing that. That is crazy, and that breaks their sleep schedule. So what I want to say is make sure you've got all of that down. You've got the routine down for what you're going to be doing in the morning time, what time your kids are going to go to bed at night, and then all the activities in between. So school's back in session. What's next? Make sure that your kids have had things like their eye exams. Make sure that they've gone to get their dental exam and they've gotten their teeth cleaned. Make sure that you have done things like if your kid goes to see a psychologist, psychiatrist, or their pediatrician or therapist, make sure that you've got those appointments scheduled, and that especially when it comes to the doctor that prescribes medication for our kids, please make sure that you have taken them as a partner, or you are going to take them as a partner, to make sure that the regimen that they are on is what they continue to need. Because I can tell you, if you've got children that are in after school activities, and they're activities that keep them kind of busy and they're running and things like that, that's really good, because it burns down some of that energy that they have. Because remember, our kids are full of energy. If your kid is more on not the hyperactivity side, but you still need some help with focus and things like that, or even if they are ADHD, you might have to have a second dosage of medicine. I know there was one time where we had like a certain milligram in the morning, and because that was wearing off in the evening, we needed to get something else. So about 3 o'clock. So that's something that the school could actually give them once you filled out those parent permission forms and taken the medication to the school and that kind of thing. Or if you are a parent that is available to go and get your kid their give them their medication, and then they're on to their activity in the evening time. Whatever you prefer, whatever works best for you, just make sure that you are taking your doctors and therapists and counselors and all those things. Make sure you're taking that stuff serious and that you're taking them as a partner, so that our kids are having a good school year. Try and make sure that all of your appointments are made after school if possible. If not, you've got to do what you got to do. Make sure that your kids have had their eye exam so that they can see the board, they can see the screen, whatever it is that your school uses. Make sure that they can see those things really well and that they're comfortable. Also, you want to make sure that you had they've been to the dentist to make sure that their mouth is not hurting, or if anything is going on in there, that they've had that cleaning and things like that. It just makes it easier for us as people, as humans, not just because they're children, but we just want to make sure that they are good when they leave our house in the morning time, when they go to school. We want to make sure that they have everything that they need, and we want to make sure that they're comfortable and they don't have any excuses as to, I don't feel good, my mouth hurts, my medicine's not working, I've got a headache, like those kind of things. So just make sure that that's something that you do. The other thing I want to talk about is for those children that are older, or teens that are older, and parents are considering some method of birth control. Think about these things. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get into your child's system. So if that's something that you're doing, if you're giving them those hormones, then why not try those things in the summertime or over Christmas break, things like that, so that they're in their system and we know how their body's responding to it. Because what we don't want to do, parents, if you have children that are going to be going off to college this next year, we want to make sure that we've already taken care of those things before they leave for college, so that they're not out there and they're in panic mode, or they're having anxiety attacks or panic attacks or anything like that, because we know that our children sometimes struggle with things. And so since they do, we want to make transitions in everyday life as easy as possible. So that is something to consider as well. Anything that has to do with their health, their body, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, we want to make sure that we as parents are taking the partners, the healthcare partners that we need to do the necessary things and get our children exactly what they need. So again, they're comfortable, the transition is easy, and they are not overwhelmed and anxious or having panic attacks or anxiety or things like that. Because we know as parents that when we've had to try different medications, or if you've ever had to try different medications, how all medicines react differently. So I just wanted to make sure that we talk about those things, because again, open platform, this is where parents talk, and we want to be real about anything that we talk about. Now, school again is back in session. And so for some parents, we have a lot of opportunities going on. So I just want to make sure that you are still taking the counselors and being partners with your school. If you have not had an ARD meeting, or you've not had a meeting for I think it's the 501, I think that's what it is, or 503, whatever that is, make sure that you are scheduling those appointments with your school. Make sure you are talking to those teachers. If you did not have a meet the teacher, or if you did not have open house yet, go ahead and get to know your children's or your teens' teachers, so that you can develop those great relationships. I can tell you that I have never seen so many people at a high school that I did this year, and it was really exciting. And I felt blessed to be able to go because I remember when my oldest was in high school, I don't remember meet the teacher in high school. And that's been a few years, but I don't remember open house or meet the teacher. And so it was really exciting to me. And when I got there, I was like, oh, this is so awesome because I don't ever remember this. I remember my daughter's coach telling me, you are the first parent in 23 years that has ever come during parent teacher conference to meet with me. And I was just in awe. And I developed that relationship. And now my other child has that same coach, and we have that relationship. And so I'm grateful for that because sometimes that doesn't happen. But parents, you've got to communicate. You've got to be a advocate for your child. Make sure that you are reading if they have an IEP or a behavior plan. What a BIP, I think it's called a behavior intervention plan. Make sure if you have those things that you are reading them, that you go over those with your child or children so that they understand what they get, especially if they're older. Now, little bitty kids, you will have to be their advocate. But if they're older and they're teens, they need to know how to advocate for themselves in a professional manner. So make sure that they understand their IEP or their BIP or their 503 or 501, whatever that one's called. Make sure that they understand what information is in there and what kind of accommodations they get. Because if that is a legal binding document, and if your child is not getting what is in that legal binding document, then there are some next steps that you are going to want to take. So please make sure that your child understands, you understand, you've thoroughly read it, you know exactly what you need to do. And that way it makes the transition of being back in school and in those new classes and new teachers, it makes it easy. Also make sure that you are developing great relationships with the coaches and the staff. Listen, you can even volunteer at some of the local schools. You may have to go through a background check or something like that, but you can volunteer. Listen, schools are so excited when parents get involved. So you can do volunteer work. You can just, take little things to the school. Even though my kid is a teenager and in high school, I know what they have to deal with every day, the same thing I have to deal with every day. And it can be a challenge. Show those teachers, show the staff that you really appreciate them. Doesn't matter. Some schools have close campuses like ours, so you can't really send food and things like that unless it's like that time of the year where it's teacher appreciation, which is the end of the year. But listen, these teachers and staff need to be appreciated throughout the year. They deserve it. They're with our kids sometimes more than we are. These coaches that spend endless hours, on the phone, at practices, watching film, all of those things. They take a lot of time away from their family to be with our kids, which is like a second family to them. So please make sure that you are appreciating the staff and teachers, even your bus drivers. Appreciate them. It will go a long way. And a lot of times they will be advocates for your kids as well. Now, I talked a little bit about in the beginning, I talked about having a routine. Make sure that you have an evening routine. I talked about that before in one of my shows. You want to make sure that they've got some kind of evening routine. So this is what time, you're out of practice, you come home, you take a shower, do your homework, you got to eat, get some screen time, whether they're gamers or whatever it is. But if your kids are older, sometimes in the evening, we need to be applying for scholarships. We need to be writing essays and things like that so that they can get scholarships. So just keep that stuff in mind and make sure that they are going to bed in enough time so that they're fully rested when they get up in the morning. I can tell you right now, my kid is back asleep. My kid's been up, gotten dressed, and is taking a nap before we get ready to go to school, because I try to get my kid to school like right before it's time so that there's not a lot of time to visit around, and idle time is what I call it. There's not a lot of idle time so that there's not any extra drama or anything like that going on. I try to eliminate any of that as much as possible. But then make sure that once they're up, they've had their breakfast, they've taken their meds, they are clean. Sometimes our children have to be reminded, brush your teeth, make sure you floss them, make sure you put your deodorant on. And I've done things that are easy, like when my kid was younger, like elementary, middle school, I would like write on the mirror in the bathroom, here's your morning checklist. But you can also download checklists for your morning and evening routines for kids with ADD, ADHD. We're just going to call it ADHD because I think it kind of all blends in together at this point when it comes to the medical aspect of it. I hope that something that I've said this morning has really been a help. I try my best to give you guys exactly what, like, I give you real life experiences. So things that I've gone through as a parent, or things that other parents have shared with me. I try to give you guys that information because those are the things, real life issues, real life things, where parents talk about it and we can resolve some of these issues, or we can support one another. Listen, you can catch me live every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. You can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. My YouTube channel is Kingdom Inspired Kids, KIDZ P6E, lowercase P6E. Please go in there, like, comment, and subscribe. Send me some feedback. If there's anything you guys need, make sure that you tune in. Send me some messages. You can email me and let me know exactly what some of your challenges may be. Listen, guys, I hope that you have had a great morning, and thank you so much for tuning in to Kingdom Inspired Kids podcast, where parents talk. Have a great, amazing remaining rest of your day, and we will talk